Let's go to attorney and Fox News contributor Emily Compagno. She's here along with insider politics reporter John Haltiwanger and former State Department spokesperson and co-host of Benson and Harf on Fox News Radio. It is Marie Harf. We were on the Outnumbered Couch today, and now here we are at the Plexiglass Oval. Welcome, everyone.
I love it.
Of course, I'm going to defer to our legal mind, our resident lawyer in all of this. What could Jussie Smollett be facing based on the charges from Chicago PD?
Up to 3 years in prison and a $25,000 fine. And I want to point out that in the state of Illinois, they had prosecutorial discretion whether to pursue this as a misdemeanor or a felony. And the fact that they're pursuing this as a Class 4 felony.
What does that say to you? What does that mean?
Speaks volumes in and of itself that they mean business. And these crimes, the alleged crime here, but the crime of filing a false police report, that's considered a crime against public justice, meaning that's why law enforcement takes it so seriously, because it's against public justice to have people do this. So the consequences are severe, and here the DA is pursuing it as such.
It's very interesting. Now, I just assume he's not going to get any jail time because I think actors in this country, by and large, you know, they can afford better lawyers who argue their way out of real trouble, unlike people who get into the system and have a really hard time extricating themselves for years and years. But if he is convicted, he may have to pay for the entire investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. These are very serious allegations. And I think one of the larger stories here that we can point to is the narrative that surrounded this story beyond the trouble that he'll be in specifically. There's a lot of issues here for, I think, the left in general and the media in terms of how this story was approached and kind of the outrage machine and how it drove the narrative and pushed the story. And he was kind of tried in public court rather than, you know, the issue of due process here.
But I think he knew that because if this story were true, it would be outrageous. It would be unconscionable. And it's hard to fathom that we live in a country where stuff like that can happen. It can happen. It's entirely within the realm of possibility. And I think that's why people had the reaction to it. But then, you know, you go to the next level. He's no longer a victim. Now he's been charged. He's been indicted with on a felony charge, on a felony count here. So what is the motivation for someone like that?
Yeah, that will be very interesting to see if that comes out during a trial. And the real tragedy here, one of the real tragedies, is that hate crimes in this country statistically are on the rise. Anti-Semitic attacks are on the rise. It is a problem. And for someone to claim that this happened falsely, to make it up, to concoct this whole story, makes it harder for real victims, I think, to be believed and possibly to get justice. So we will see if this is just someone who wanted attention for himself, wanted to be the victim, if he really just is, I don't want to use the term crazy, but is mentally challenged in some way. There's also reporting now that the police are looking into whether he faked the initial letter that he received, a threat.
I mean, but that's what's so interesting.
They're also looking into that now as well, so this could be a pattern.
And the brother said he was really upset that the letter didn't get more traction in the press, but now the brothers are saying, and he also made us write the letter.
So this is a pattern.
Yes, and just to point something out about that letter, as you guys know, just like when you go through TSA, jokes, it doesn't matter if you're joking or not. So a terroristic threat letter is taken seriously no matter what. That, it has so much far serious consequences beyond just this filing a false police report.
If it is, if they find that he was in fact the one responsible for either directing the brothers to craft the letter or he had a big part in that, will that mean extra charges?
100%. So much more serious than the filing of false
is that a federal charge since it was over the mail?
Yes, it is. And also, when you said, is there a pattern? Remember, in 2007, he was charged with, let's say, false identity, impersonation.
A DUI. He gave
exactly.
Yeah, he gave his brother's name.
His brother's name and signed the court appearance documentation as such. So certainly there was kind of evidence of a pattern before this, unfortunately.
So bizarre.
Who's a bigger liar, him or Andy McCabe?
I'm not going to get into that. Let's remain on top.
Haltiwanger, you're getting into it. That's the Plexiglass Oval.
I'm not going to get into that, but I'm going to say you made a very good point here. I mean, the most recent FBI report on hate crime showed that there was a 17% increase. This followed an increase the past 3 years. So we've seen hate crimes increase over the past 3 years. And when somebody comes up here, and we don't know all the facts on this case yet, but we're certainly pointing to the conclusion that he perhaps made all of this up.
Okay, but the weirdest thing is he's still sticking with the story. His lawyers tonight are like, hey, guys, don't charge him. He's the victim of a hate crime.
Right. So there's clearly something wrong with
At what point does he turn and go, you know what, my bad?
Well, it seems to me like his whole theory has been he didn't think he would get caught. And he didn't think anyone would ever get caught for this, quote, crime if he in fact made it up. And now I think he's probably continuing to play that game out. But you're right. At what point does he say, okay, the jig is up here? He will.
Perhaps he thought the narrative was on his side.
Perhaps as a plea, part of a plea agreement.
And people dig in, you guys, when the government is coming, when the government turns around and shifts its eye of Sauron onto you, people dig in and freak out. And so while it seems calmly discussing it, why wouldn't he just, oh, okay, you're right. In that level of, he is panicking.
He's rolling in the deep. I know, Adele.